Welcome back to the Puddin' Creek Rod Shop. Boy, have we got a good show for you today. Today we are back to work on the bad coupe. But first, before we get our hands dirty on the bad coupe, the little woman and I, we're going on an excursion. And guess what? We're taking all 45,000 of you bootleggers along with us. So all y'all load up into the back of the grocery getter and let's pull a Hank Snow. Now y'all probably have a confused look on your face about right now. Probably the same look I had when I was 18 years old. I was attending my first day of machine shop school and also my first blueprint reading class. And at the end of the class, our blueprint reading teacher, who had to be close to 80 years old when I was 18, he was white-haired and a really good guy. He worked as an engineer during the day at a local plant, and he taught blueprint reading to us momos at night. At the end of that first class, the blueprint reading teacher closed his book and he said, "That's it, boys. Let's pull a Hank Snow." Well, we gave each other the most bewildered, confused look that you can imagine, because we didn't know who Hank Snow was, and we sure didn't know what pulling a Hank Snow was. You see, all of us 18 and 19-year-old boys at that time, we were listening to AC/DC or Hank Jr. Hank Snow was not on our radar at all. So every day at the end of the class, this teacher would close his book and say, "That's it, boys. Let's pull a Hank Snow." And this went on for several months. And finally, after class one day, I went up to him and I said, "What's that mean when you say, 'let's pull a Hank Snow'?" Well, he looked at me like I had to be the dumbest machine shop student in the whole school. And he said, "Son," he said, "in 1950, Hank Snow had a #1 hit with a song called Moving On. So if I say let's pull a Hank Snow, that means class is over. It's done. Pack your junk. Hit the road. We're moving on." And then he said, "Son, try to keep up. We'll be moving kind of fast this semester." Well, we've been driving for about an hour and 45 minutes now, and we crossed over the Tennessee state line into the state of Virginia, and now we're taking you way up into the mountains of Virginia to meet a couple of our YouTube viewers. You see these two nice folks, Frank and Debbie, they emailed us and they told us that they'd ended up with some machinist tools that had belonged to a family member who was no longer going to be able to use them, sadly. And they loved our show, they watched every Monday, and they'd like for us to have them. Turn on the later. That interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Late?
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know what half of this stuff is for.
Right.
I don't claim to be a machinist.
Right.
But,
Well, I was for many years.
yeah, I know. I can tell by your show. We really enjoy your show.
Great,
it's
great.
The highlight of our Monday night.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad somebody likes it.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure a lot of people know what they are.
Yep. 1,
You
2,
do?
3 blocks. I do. Yeah, 100%.
I don't know what they are.
Angle plates and sign plates. And, sure.
Yeah, I don't know what they are.
Yeah. I
I
can
don't
use
know
all
what
that
they are.
stuff.
I don't know what this is. I don't know how you use it for or
I'm
anything.
sure if I know what that is, to be honest with you. Oh, it's a mini sign plate. Okay, I see now.
Okay.
That's for setting angles. If when you set a part up in a machine
Yeah.
and you want it to be on a precision angle, you can take gauge blocks and put here to get a precision angle, and then put your part right here, and then you can machine the part to have a precision angle.
Wonderful. You went right over my head.
You said, "Well, that's boring."
Anyway, nah, I know what this is, but I don't need it.
Right.
Yeah. There's another one in there.
Yep.
Some kind of a vise in
Right.
there.
Oh, that's great.
And all these are for surface grinding.
Surface grinding wheels.
Can you use
yeah.
them?
Yeah.
Good. Take
Yeah.
them.
I'll
Great.
take 'em.
Great.
Great.
So,
Yeah.
And there's some books about tool. My brother-in-law did a lot of tool room
Oh, okay.
grinding.
Okay.
but he was a machinist also.
Right.
They had a tool and die company. So.
Okay. He owned his own tool die company?
No, he worked for one.
Okay.
Now Debbie's grandfather owned a tool and die company.
Oh, yeah?
And he made all the dies for these lights.
Oh, yeah?
Way back when. He made all the dies for Arrow Safety Device Company.
Okay, I've heard
And now
of him.
Holly, so a lot of
Yeah, in
times
New
you
Jersey.
see the,
So on my cars, I've got the turn signal lights of
That's
her
great.
grandfather. And on my truck over there, I got the Arrow Safety Device headlights.
Can't beat that. That's my kind of thinking. I got a set of these too, but they don't have the thing on top.
Well, some of them didn't. So there's a lot of companies that made them.
Yeah.
I've collected the Arrow stuff just because I liked her grandfather.
So your grandfather was toolmaker for Arrow?
yeah.
Or what? And where was Arrow at? What?
In New Jersey.
Mount Holly, New Jersey.
Mount Holly, New Jersey. Okay. Cool. Cool. I like your age there.
I wish he was around so he could see these things.
Right. Well,
We're doing it in honor of him anyway.
absolutely. I like that kind of stuff.
Anyway, over here, you can see your nice little Craftsman Lathes great grandfather.
Oh yeah, let's check it out. I love my Craftsman lathe.
I love mine too. I've had it for over 40 years. I got it from my father-in-law, who got it from Debbie's grandfather.
Oh really?
And I've used it. I'm not a machinist, like I said, but I can do things I need to do.
Right, right. Yeah, that's a nice one. That's a heavy duty. That's a lot heavier duty than what I've
It's
got.
next size bigger than yours. The only problem with these lathes, a lot of it is the pot metal parts.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
And I had broke this.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And you able to find one?
Well, there's a guy. This is broken here too. There's a guy on the internet that remakes all that in aluminum
Right.
and steel gears.
Oh, okay.
Costs a lot of money.
Right, right, right.
But it was for my. But boy, look how nice that works now.
Oh, yeah.
So I got my lathe back.
You know, before I bought that one, I had never actually ran one of those little Craftsman lathes. I ran every kind of lathe you can think of, but not the Craftsman's. You know, what I ran were machine shop lathes. And I thought they were just a toy. I didn't think you could actually hold any kind of a tolerance on it. But that one I've got holds great tolerance.
Oh, I know. Atlas made the lathes.
Right, right, right. That's a good looking one right there. That's big enough.
And then
to
I
do.
got a little mill that is relative to your little bandsaw.
Right.
General Chow.
You got General Chow's milling machine.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, and it does good enough for what I do.
Right,
You know, so.
Right. And then you've got a Walker Turner drill
And
press.
I got that same from Debbie's that came from Debbie's
Yeah.
grandfather's shop.
It's a good little drill press. That's
Yeah.
probably from what, the 1940s, I'm thinking, isn't it?
At least.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so is that lathe.
Yeah.
It goes back that far too.
Got a cool steel decimal chart there. I
Yeah.
like those.
Yeah. So that's some of my junk.
Oh, yeah.
So here's those headlights.
Oh, yeah.
And I had these headlights for a year. I had these headlights probably 50 years, and I had nothing to put them on.
Right.
And then I bought this truck, and one of the things that was missing was headlights. So
Oh, okay.
I'm putting in headlights.
Sometimes things just work out,
It
don't
did,
they?
and it was worth
Sometimes.
holding on to them for all those years.
And then you looks like got some hit and miss engines too.
I do.
Let's look at them. Okay. Did you restore these?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yep. Now, what would this size engine be used for? Just for general
Anything
farm work?
Anything a farmer wants to run.
Right, just anything.
And I've had a lot more of these, but these are all I have left.
Right, right.
And I have one on the back of the truck there that I take to the show with me.
Oh, okay.
I run it.
Fired up.
I used to have all these at shows, but not for a long time. They're getting too heavy for me.
I understand that. Now, what brand is that?
That's an Associated,
Associated. What's this one?
a Witty.
Huh.
And then they're over there,
Oh, okay.
covered in junk, is the Detroit 2-cycle engine.
Oh, okay.
And it has fuel injection also.
Really?
Yeah.
From what year would that be?
That's back in the 1900 something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Great.
All these engines are 100 years old.
Right. Well, there's another one in there. What's that one?
T&M Termat and Monahan was, And then this is a woodpecker over here.
And that was the name brand?
Yeah. Built by the Middletown Machine Company. So we run it. And, you know, if somebody's interested in it, we'll crank it up at the car show. I don't like to run it too long because it shoots out some oil on somebody's nice paint job. You know?
Right. That's pretty cool. They just had the crankshaft and everything exposed.
Oh yeah.
That's wild.
Now they had like that red one over there had a metal shield over some of them. There probably was one on here at one point.
And then just oil cups to oil everything.
Grease cups, yeah.
Grease cups.
Now on your band coupe.
Yeah.
When I saw that on TV, you showed a Hot Rod Show World. Is that yours or did you just take a picture of it?
That was mine. Yeah, that was mine.
Okay, because I have it too.
Oh, okay.
I thought if you didn't have it, you could have this one.
Well, that's got a different cover than mine's got. I wonder why that is.
That's it.
I've got the same issue. As a matter of fact, this is Monday's intro, and when you watch Monday's video, it's this.
Okay.
But mine don't have that cover on it. Mine's got a different cover totally.
Yeah, it's still got the red, white.
Still got the red, white, and blue, but it's got a different car.
Now maybe now her and I did these shows went to these shows for 10 years.
Yeah.
I've got 10 years of these, and
okay.
You can have this if you want.
I'll definitely take it. Thank you very much.
So that's probably because it's a different region. They put a different cover
I guess so.
on it.
It's got a different.
So we probably saw the bad coupe back in '76.
Yeah.
Because we did those shows for 10 years probably.
Yeah.
I loved all those custom cars.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you're welcome to that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice Gerstner toolbox too.
Yeah, that was my brother-in-law's, and
that's
I bought
awesome.
it. I bought this from him, and I got a lot of things I think I'll never use like this.
Right.
If you're interested, I'd probably sell that.
I've actually got a couple of those.
What is it for?
Just to check heights, or you can put a part on there, like if you want to check the depth of a bore.
Right.
You can zero out on top of the part and drop the needle down in the bore and check the depth.
Okay, that makes sense. I'll probably never use it. I was going to get rid of the surface plate, but I've used it a few times since I've had it.
Oh
so-
yeah, they're handy to have.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely.
And I got a bunch of dial indicators and stuff like that. That I only need one.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I got a lot of kind of stuff from him. So
You got everything set up to where you can just pull up to something and had a surface plate to check it and do everything.
yeah.
That's the way to do it.
So,
Okay. These old pictures, are this your family or just
this
pictures?
is my this 34 Ford. That's
Yeah.
my mother.
Oh, really?
That was my grandfather's car.
Yeah.
And that's them there. My brother and my sister.
Oh,
They're both passed. A funny story goes along with that. When I was about to be born, my father had a brand new 53 Chevy,
Yeah.
and he had a 1952 Chrysler.
Yeah.
He flooded them both. And then Grandpop got the old 34 Ford out, took my mom to the hospital.
That's great.
I wish I could have. The car was still around when I was a little boy, but it was gone
Yeah.
after a while. So it would be neat to have had that
Oh, yeah,
car.
absolutely. Yours is all original. This was 28 or 29?
It's a 28 and the truck's a 29.
Oh, okay.
You can open the door if you want.
Yeah, these are nice cars.
Shoot, yeah.
Great looking cars. You got the manual right there in the door pocket.
Yeah.
Did you restore this one yourself?
I bought this one this way.
Did you?
It was restored in the 90s.
Right.
And I don't think the guy ever drove it.
Yeah. You did a good job.
Yeah. But the guy was a body and fender man.
Oh, okay.
He restored it. There was a lot of the mechanical stuff I had to redo. It was backwards. If anything could be put on backwards, it was put on backwards. But we got it all straightened out. we really enjoy it. Now this one here I got on eBay.
Yeah.
Came from North Dakota.
Oh, okay.
Originally, and her and I, we took everything apart. I'm not a body or paint guy.
Right.
I did the best I could with it.
Right.
But it runs real good. We like driving it. As it was being transported here from
Illinois.
in Illinois, it got stolen.
Really?
And the guy went into the bathroom. He had a brand new Chevy Colorado,
Yeah.
and my truck on there, and it was an enclosed trailer. He came out of the truck stop, and it was all gone. And so then I thought I lost my truck. You know, it was in bad shape. You know, it was the new truck. So anyway, a couple weeks later, the police found the trailer. The truck that drove the trailer was gone. The Colorado was gone, but my old truck was still in there.
That's crazy.
So I finally got it. We finally got it and took it all apart, and so over a couple of years, and did as best we could with it.
That's
We have a lot of fun with it. It runs real good.
When I was a kid, I had a great uncle that had an A model coupe, and he painted it with about a 4-inch wide paintbrush and house paint.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I thought he was just a crazy person. But then since we bought and sold so many old cars, you know, a lot of them got painted that way. That was the kind of a standard thing to do.
Or with a vacuum cleaner.
Or with a vacuum cleaner. But he painted this one with a brush. So.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
We bought several of them that were painted with a brush since then, so it makes more sense now.
Yeah.
I guess it was what he was used to. Oh, yeah.
Only this one has an alternator.
That's what I was going to say. You got an alternator on this one.
Yeah.
A lot of guys will put the see-through top on the distributor
Yeah.
so you can see how it's fired.
Yeah.
That's a cool car. I like that. I like that color.
Yeah,
too.
we like it. We have a lot of fun with it.
And you got one of the old bandsaws. Is that that's not a Sears? That's what a.
It's
oh,
a
that is a
Sears.
Sears Craftsman.
Yeah.
I was thinking it's
That's
shaped
funny.
like a Homecraft. You know, Montgomery Ward had the
Yeah.
Homecraft brand. It looked kind of like that.
Right. My father-in-law called me at work one day, and he said, "There's a nice bandsaw sitting out in the trash," and he told me where it was. And I said, "Well, I'll probably be gone by the time I get out of work." And sure enough, it was still there, sitting on the side of the road. I said, "They can't be throwing that away. Somebody must be." So I went up and knocked on the door, and I said, "Is that in the trash?" to the lady. She says, "Yes, it is, and it works just fine." I think she was getting divorced, and she threw away. That's what I always thought, because she says, "Take it." I took it and brought it home. It works fine.
What about
I've
that?
had it for 30 years probably.
I like all the old Craftsman stuff from
Yeah.
50s and 40s and 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Even up into the 70s, it was good stuff.
Yeah. This, I don't know if it's going to be any good to you. I don't even know what kind of like grinder this is.
be honest
You
with
do
you.
have.
Yeah.
Anyway, how do you want to?
Yes.
This weighs a ton. You want to put that in the box.
We have had a large time at Frank and Debbie's place. We sure do appreciate them passing on the extra machinist tools, and we will be putting those to good use in future videos. You guys will see them. As a matter of fact, if you hang around to the very end of this video, we'll do a full unboxing and show you everything we got at Frank's place. And we sure enjoyed seeing all the old hit and miss engines and the A models and the vintage equipment and machinery. I don't know about you guys, but I would rather go to a shop like that than to go to some big professional shop with a crew of guys and a laser cutter and a water jet and a bunch of CNC machines. I'd a whole lot rather see somebody's home shop with granddad's lathe and granddad's drill press. Maybe it's just me. Now, all this driving and looking at machines and looking at old cars, it sure has made us work up an appetite. I mean, I'm hungrier than a tick on a teddy bear right now. As near as we can tell, we're not far from Damascus, Virginia. It looks like it's just over the mountaintop here, so we think we'll take a ride through the mountains and head on over to Damascus, Virginia, and see if we can't find something good to eat. Y'all come and go along with us. Man, oh man, look at all that debris stuck in that old iron bridge. I guess Virginia got hit just as bad by Hurricane Helene as East Tennessee and North Carolina did. Well, there's a sign we are in Damascus, Virginia now. I hope they've got lunch ready. My stomach's already started chewing on my liver.
Us too, honey. We live so far away, but yeah.
The first time we've been back since the hurricane.
Yeah, that's true.
We love this town.
Yeah. We're from Richmond. Where are you from? Lenore. Okay. We're about 2 hours away. Yeah. Y'all Richmond, Virginia?
Now, don't tell me that ain't a country girl. She ordered fried fish, soup, beans, and greens. I went for the meatloaf sandwich. Now, if you're from up north, you probably said old Puddin' Creek said that backwards. He said soup beans, and what he really meant was bean soup. Well, that's not what I meant at all. In our part of the country, we call them soup beans. Technically, what they are is pinto beans that are cooked all day long with some fat back and commonly served with cornbread. Now, you're saying, forget the soup beans. What's this cornbread you speak of? Well, I can't give away all of our southern secrets.
I'm trying to make it look like I ate all that by myself.
All right, break's over and let's get it. Back to work on the bad coupe. Now, if you remember from last week's video, we decided to go ahead and pull this engine, get it out of the way, get this car down to bare bones to where we can really go through everything in detail and bring this thing back to life 100% perfect. First job of the morning is to get this old chrome starter out of the way. Looks like this is a real deal, old school, made in USA Delco starter. I'm guessing they just pulled the guts out of the case and took the case to the Kirby vacuum cleaner factory and give it a run through the old chrome tank. I know it's goofy, but every time I pull a part off this car and I see a Made in USA stamp on it, it just makes me grin. For some reason, taking this car apart is just very satisfying. I've been monkeying around trying to get this engine running off and on now for a couple of weeks, and that wasn't really too satisfying, but something about taking it all down, stripping it down to its bare bones, and cleaning everything and fixing everything and bringing it back to life 100% perfect, that's just very satisfying. Now, while I'm doing these mundane tasks, radiator hoses and such, let me drop some useless knowledge on you. Did you guys know that in 1944, Hank Williams Sr. married his wife Audrey Williams in a Texaco station? And the reason they got married in a Texaco station is because the Justice of the Peace owned the gas station. So they got married in the gas station by the Justice of the Peace. Well, we've got everything unbolted and out of the way. Let's push this baby outside, and then we can pull that purple purple power plant out of the old car. Man, this thing rolls like it's pulling a four-bottom plow behind it. I haven't had time to pull the brakes apart to see what's going on, but I did jack up the front end and the back end and just spin the wheels by hand so I could figure out if it's the brakes on the front dragging or the brakes on the back. And the answer to that question was yes. The brakes on the front are dragging and the brakes on the back are dragging. When I do the brakes on these old cars, I don't try to salvage much of any of it. I start with the master cylinder, rebuild it. I usually trash all the old brake lines and fittings and just put all brand new in, new wheel cylinders, the whole 9 yards. Now, how do you like this setup? A John Deere tractor pulling a Chevy engine out of a Ford car. Now, you can't get much more American than that. Now, when I go back together with this whole deal, I'm going to clean that bell housing up and the transmission and paint it to match, just like it would have been back in the 70s. Out here in B Complex, I've got stored an extra engine stand that I picked up at the Tom Hanna auction. So we'll put the Bad Coupe's engine on Tom Hanna's engine stand. That's a pretty cool combination. What do you guys think? All right, I promised you at the end of the video that we would do an unboxing of all the stuff that we got at Frank and Debbie's place yesterday. We'll start by comparing the Hot Rod Show World magazine that Frank gave me out of his collection. Both magazines have the Bad Coupe in them, and both magazines seem to have the exact same ads and page layouts, but they have different cars featured inside the magazine and, of course, different cars on the cover. Now, I was really stoked to get this and sure appreciate Frank letting me have it. The next item is called a V-block. This is used to hold round shafts. If you wanted to mill a flat on a shaft in a milling machine or drill a cross hole in a shaft or anything you need to do to any kind of a shaft, you would clamp it up in this V-block, and then you could chuck it up in the mill vise or on a surface grinder and do whatever you need to do to a round shaft. Now, this is a Phase 2 brand. I've used this a lot back in the 80s and 90s. Phase 2 was pretty common. I think these were made in Taiwan, but they were pretty good quality and definitely will be handy to have around the shop, a nice big one like this. Now, this is probably the coolest thing we got yesterday. This is a Herman Schmidt tool set. Check out that Herman Schmidt logo on its own original wood case. Herman Schmidt was a really high quality, high precision brand that was made in Connecticut, and they made really nice stuff. Now, this V-block is not a Herman Schmidt item. I recognize it right off the bat. This is made by the L.S. Starrett Company, which was one of the great precision brands also. Now, obviously, this is not the correct clamp for this V-block, but I can make a clamp, or I might even have one that fits it. This is called an angle plate, and I don't think this is a Herman Schmidt model either. I actually think this is one that's been made by the machinist in the shop, but it's been very well done, and it will be very handy for setup. Hey, there's even the missing part of the hasp. We'll get that put back on this nice original wood case, and it'll be good as new. Now, this is called a precision vise. The difference in a precision vise versus just a regular bench vise is that a bench vise holds your part, but a precision vise holds your part and it holds it perfectly square to the back jaw of the vise and also perfectly square to the bottom of the vise or the side of the vise. You can also flip this vise over on its side and locate parts precisely. I'll go ahead and unfold this paper. I know if I don't, I'll get 52 comments saying, "Hey, Puddin' Creek, what was on that piece of paper?" Maybe it's a combination to a safe. No safe combinations. I'm guessing it was just put in between the vise jaws to keep them from rusting together. Now, as you can see, I guess this stuff hasn't been used in quite some time, and it does have a little rust on it, but that's no problem. I'll stone everything down and make it just like brand new before I start using it. Now this is called a sign plate. This is used to cut a precision angle on a part. If you had a part you needed to cut a precision angle on, you would bolt it to the top plate on this sign plate, and then you would use the formulas in trigonometry to calculate what size gauge block or gauge blocks you would need to put under one end of the sign plate in order to raise the top half to that precision angle. Again, there's a little bit of surface rust on these tools, but I'll clean all this up and take a fine stone and stone all the flat surfaces down, and they'll be accurate and as good as new when I get done with them. Now this is called a precision gauge block. This one is a 19 millimeter. But these are about the most precise things in the whole machine shop. These are kind of what the whole process is based on. You can use these to calibrate your micrometers and your tools, but you can also use these stacked up to get a perfect height to set a sign plate or sign bar. Using the functions of trigonometry, you calculate exactly what size gauge block or blocks you need to raise this plate up and set it on a precision angle. Now, instead of a sign plate, this is called a sign bar, and this particular one is a mini sign bar at that. So it works off the exact same principle, though. You calculate what size gauge block, or the old-timers called them Joe blocks, but you calculate what size you need to raise this one end of the sign bar up to give you that precision angle. And then you can put the sign bar down in a vise, and you can put the part you want to machine on top of the sign bar, and then you can cut a precision angle on the part that you need to machine. This is called a pin vise. It works kind of like a drill chuck, but it's used to hold small parts, 1/8 diameter, 1/16 diameter rods or pins. Say you wanted to grind a point on a small pin, you could chuck it up in this pin vise and then take it over and spin it on the grinder and grind a point on it. Now these are industrial diamond surface grinding wheel dressers. Yes, there is a real diamond embedded right in the end of it. It's an industrial diamond, so it's gray. It doesn't look like the one in your wife's engagement ring. But you can run this back and forth under a surface grinding wheel, and it will dress off all the old worn and loaded up parts of the wheel, and it will reveal brand new wheel, so it cuts a lot better. This is a compass, just like the one you used in your high school drafting class, but I've never seen one made like this. Let's try it out and see how it works. That's pretty slick. I may have to take my hot rod parts designing skills up another level. Now, there was a stack of these old trigonometry table books. All the tool companies used to give these away back in the day. Each tool company had their own trigonometry books that they gave away for free. But this orange one on the bottom of the stack, it really looked familiar to me. My very first day of machine shop school, when I was just a little Puddin' Creek, they issued us a denim shop apron, a pair of safety glasses, and this same exact orange trigonometry book. Now, I remember flipping through the pages of this little book as soon as they handed it to me. I was just a kid and fresh off the farm. I had had some high school algebra, but had not had any trigonometry whatsoever. And I remember flipping through the pages of this little orange book and thinking, wow, I'm not sure I can do this. But like building hot rods and everything else we learn in life, somebody gives you a little bit of instruction on it, and then you put your brain to it, and you scratch your head for a while, but pretty soon you figure it out, and then you look back and you figure out that it just wasn't as hard as you thought it was going to be at all. right, here's the what is it part of our show. Take your best guess at what this tool is or what it's used for and post it in the comments down below the video. And when the video's over, let's all go to the comments and read those comments. This should be interesting. Got your comment posted? All right, come right on over here to the milling machine with me and I'll show you what this tool's used for. These are called T-slots in the milling machine table, and this tool is a T-slot cleaner. You use this to go back in those T-slots and drag the chips out to where you can get to them and clean them out of the machine. Now, how many of you guessed right? These are called 1, 2, 3 blocks, and they're called that because they are precision ground to exactly 1 inch thick and 2 inches wide and 3 inches long. Because they're precision ground to these exact dimensions and because they're a matched pair, they're really handy for setting up parts on a milling machine table. Now, when I had just got out of machine shop school and got my first paying job as a machinist, on my off time, on lunch break and afternoon break and maybe just a slow time during the day, I was making myself a set of these 1, 2, 3 blocks. I had them all machined and all the holes drilled in them, and I'd milled a little slot in the end and stamped my name in there, and I'd heat treated them in our heat treat oven, and I was starting to surface grind them. I just ground one side and pulled that side off and set them on my toolbox. And that was about the time that the plant manager and the owner of the company happened to walk through the machine shop to check and see what we were doing. Well, the plant manager, he picks up one of those 1, 2, 3 blocks off my toolbox, and he kind of rubs his thumb over the part where I'd stamped my name in the end of it, and he reads off my name, and he says, this looks like personal work. This doesn't look like company work, but you're doing it on company time. Well, I thought to myself, I'm about to get fired from my very first machine shop job. But then the owner of the company, he picked up the other 1, 2, 3 block and he looked at it and he said, back in the early 60s, I worked as a tool and die maker for the General Electric Company. And on my spare time, I made a set of 1, 2, 3 blocks just like these. And he said, you know what? He said, yours look every bit as good as mine did. You're doing a fine job. Carry on. And then they walked off. Shoo-wee, what a relief. Old Puddin' Creek didn't get fired after all. Now, if you're at a garage sale or an estate sale and you see one of these red padded jeweled cases, that means it's something that's made by the LS Sterrett Company, and that means it's good stuff. Now, this particular set here is a set of anvil micrometers, and there's something wrong with them. They're broke. We'll check them out, see if there's a possibility that I can fix them. But they have interchangeable anvils that you can put in there and clamp in place, and that just allows you to get in tight spots and measure things in tight spots, flat anvils, round anvils, anvil mics. We'll see if we can get them fixed. Now here's a set of what I would call mini 1, 2, 3 blocks. Obviously these are not 1 inch by 2 inch by 3 inch. They're smaller size, but they work on the same principle. Here's a little odds and ends box. Usually these would be in the top of a tool maker's toolbox, and you just kind of a catch-all. Whatever you were working on or you wanted to save, you'd throw a piece of it in one of these odds and ends boxes. Let's see what's in this one. Now these are die strips out of a progressive die. Used to just about everything made in America that was made out of flat steel was made in a die of some sort. And the die is a tool that punches and forms and bends. And these are progressive die strips, which means every time the die moved it forward 1 notch, it did a different task to it. It would punch a hole, or it'd bend the ears up, or it'd form something. These look like they came out of a progressive die that was designed to make some kind of electrical terminals. These holes on the back of the die strip, they were used for a locator punch. Every time it fed forward 1 notch, a locator punch would punch down in those holes, and that would locate it to its precision spot for the next activity to be done, or the next bending or forming or cutting task. Here, let me show you a little video clip so you can see what I mean. As you watch this video, look at the locator pin and what it does. All right, I hope we haven't bored you to death doing this unboxing. You'll be glad to know this is the very last item right here. When I was a young machine shop student, they would not let you start learning how to operate a lathe until you had hand ground your own lathe tools. And when I say hand ground, I mean with a bench grinder in your two hands, that's all. You had to grind a right hand turning tool, a left hand turning tool, a threading tool, and a part off or cut off tool. And all the relief angles and cutting angles had to be perfect. The machine shop teacher inspected all these angles and they had to be perfect before he would even consider to start to teach you how to run a lathe. Well, that's our show for this week. Again, we want to send out a huge thank you to Frank and Debbie for their hospitality, for showing us their home shop and their Model A Fords and their antique equipment, and also for donating the extra machine shop tools to the Puddin Creek Rod Shop. Hopefully they'll get some enjoyment out of seeing those used in future videos. And friends and neighbors, we want to thank every one of you for coming back here every Monday to watch this nonsense. We really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the show, leave us a comment and let us know. If you didn't enjoy the show, leave us a comment and let us know that too. And as always, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already.